I swear, it wasn't my fault. Dock 12 and Dock 21 look almost identical, especially when you're half asleep, carrying 3 heavy bags of tools and sprinting for your life, because the station SAI decided to shuffle the entire shuttle schedule without bothering to tell a single soul. So, yes, he boarded the wrong ship. But it wasn't until the doors sealed shut behind me with a heavy, final hiss, and I finally lifted my head, that 2 terrifying facts slammed into me at once. First, this was definitely not the little cargo shuttle to Luna Outpost. Second, the 6 towering figures staring down at me were dragons. I mean, actual, real-life dragons. Scaled, winged, horned, all female. And all of them looked very, very surprised to see me. The tallest one, who seemed to radiate an aura of command, stepped forward. Her scales shimmered like molten gold, and her horns were wrapped in intricate metal bands that hummed with a low, powerful energy. "Human," she said, her voice a deep, slow rumble that vibrated through the floor plates. "You have boarded the Dracotis Cruiser. This vessel is not open to outsiders." My mouth felt like it was full of sand. I managed to croak out, my voice barely a squeak. "Right. So, should I just get off?" "No," another dragoness said immediately, her voice sharp and clear. This one was covered in scales that shone like polished silver, and her eyes were as bright as distant stars. "The ship has already departed." And right on cue, the engines roared to life with a force that shook the entire deck. The artificial gravity shifted, and my stomach lurched. It was official. I was stuck on a spaceship full of warrior dragon women. I was somewhere between utterly terrified, profoundly confused, and deeply, deeply aware that I was by far the smallest, softest thing in the room. Dragons, as it turns out, are incredibly dramatic. They circled me like I was some kind of strange, exotic creature they'd just discovered under a rock. One of them whispered, in a voice like grinding stones, "He's tunny." "Soft," another one added, gently poking my shoulder with a claw that was easily the size of a combat knife. I flinched, but the touch was surprisingly delicate. "He smells like electricity and anxiety," a third one observed from behind me. "That's just humans," I muttered under my breath, not really intending for them to hear. "The golden dragoness there, Captain," I presumed looked me over with a gaze so intense I felt like it could peel paint off the walls. "What do you call small human?" "Sehasket." "Sehasket, Evan," I said, trying to stand up a little straighter. "I'm an engineer. Well, a junior engineer. Mostly, I fix coffee dispensers." A low rumble of what sounded suspiciously like amusement rolled through the group, like distant thunder. "Our ship lacks an engineer," the captain said thoughtfully, her golden eyes narrowing, "and our beverage unit has been malfunctioning for months." The silver dragoness leaned in, her massive head close to mine. Her breath smelled faintly of ozone and something sweet, like burnt sugar. "Can you fix T-machines too?" she asked, her voice filled with a hopeful eagerness. Yes," I said, more of a question than an answer. The entire group of dragons immediately turned to look at their captain, their expressions intense. "I want him," the silver one declared. "You cannot simply claim him," growled another, whose scales were the color of dark copper. "He boarded my section of the ship first," argued a third one, a jade-green dragoness with impressive, sweeping horns. I felt a surge of panic and raised a weak hand. "Hey, I can just go home. If you drop me off at the next convenient starport." Every single dragoness froze and stared at me as if I'd just suggested they fly their ship directly into a black hole. "Leave," the captain repeated, her voice laced with disbelief, as in, "Separate from us?" the silver one asked, looking genuinely horrified at the thought. "We would never abandon a clutchmate once they join us," growled the copper-scaled pilot, her tone final. "I'm not a clutchmate," I said quickly, waving my hands. "I'm a human." This was all a big mistake. "No," the captain said firmly, folding her powerful wings neatly behind her back in a gesture of absolute authority. "The universe does not make mistakes. You boarded our ship. You are an engineer. You are ours now. Well, I figured if I was going to be an intergalactic captive, I might as well make myself useful. They led me to their galley, and when they said their tea dispenser was malfunctioning, what they really meant was that it had been hit with plasma-fired Weiss, because one of them had gotten impatient waiting for her drink. I sighed and got to work. I pulled out my tools, opened up the scorched panels, and started diagnosing the problem. The entire time, all 6 of them watched me in absolute silent fascination. He uses his tools like they are fine jewelry. The silver dragoness, whose name I learned was Lyra, murmured to the one next to her. He fixes things without using fire. Another whispered back, with a tone of deep, almost spiritual reverence. It seemed their primary method of repair was hit it until it works, and if it doesn't, burn it. The captain's Arthra crouched down beside me, the sheer scale of her making the small space feel even smaller. She watched my hands as I rewired a burnt-out capacitor. "Human Evan, what do you eat?" she asked, her voice surprisingly soft. Normal food," I replied, not looking up. That was apparently the wrong answer. A few minutes later, I found myself in the center of their galley, surrounded by 6 eager dragons trying to offer me snacks. "We have roasted starbisson," offered the copper pilot. "Fermented comet fruit," suggested another, holding out a jar of purple, glowing mush. "Dried lava kelp. It is very crunchy." I politely requested a protein bar from my bag instead. They all stared in stunned silence as I unwrapped it and took a bite, as if I'd just performed some ancient, sacred ritual. It became clear that my presence was a complete novelty to them, and they were treating me like a precious, fragile treasure. The next few days passed in a strange but not unpleasant routine. Every single dragoness seemed to believe that keeping me happy and safe was her own personal mission. The pilot, a gruff but warm dragon named Callan, taught me how to make micro-adjustments to the ship's course, even letting me sit at her massive control panel. Lyra, the silver one, decided my hair needed to be braided, and she spent an hour delicately weaving it with her razor-sharp claws, which she handled with the precision of surgical tools. The ship's medical officers scanned me 4 separate times. Cleminate was purely out of scientific curiosity, but I could see the underlying concern in her eyes. But it was the captain, Zartra, who watched me most closely. She was often quiet, observing from a distance with her intelligent, molten gold eyes. One night, as the ship drifted silently through the ethereal light of a nearby nebula, she approached me. I was standing at an observation window, watching the cosmic dust swirl in brilliant colors. "Evan," she said softly, her voice a low rumble that didn't startle me anymore. "Our people seldom accept outsiders. It is not our way. But the crew, they have taken to you. They feel protective of you." She paused, and for the first time, I thought I saw a flicker of hesitation in her gaze. "I feel protective. That's flattering," I said carefully, not sure how to respond to the fierce, ancient creature standing beside me. Her eyes glowed with a warm inner light. "When we reach your station, you may disembark if you choose," she said, and my heart gave a strange little jump. "But know this, you will always have a place here. A horde, a crew, a family." My chest tightened with an emotion I couldn't quite name, because somewhere between their bizarre food offerings, their deep, rumbling laughter that shook the ship, and the unexpectedly gentle way they treated me like I was something precious, something to be cherished, I realized something shocking. I didn't want to leave either. The thought of going back to my tiny apartment and my job fixing coffee machines suddenly felt empty. I had stumbled onto the wrong ship, but maybe, just maybe, I had found exactly where I was supposed to be. Thanks for tuning in to this story. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let us know in the comments what you think Evan should do. See you next time.